but you have to power through it.
Sure do.
And you have to be there for the children.
And you have to get information.
Yeah, and we'll get to
We're
that
not going to get ahead of ourselves on that, but that's yet again another thing. Arm yourself with information.
Right.
But
It's our goal to be the mother, and a goal to support our husband and
Sure.
his ex-wife in raising the children. Now, having said that,
Mhm.
the ex-wife's authority stops at the front door.
Sure does.
Okay. It doesn't come into the house. Any at all issues that's going on with the children, the biological parents should be handling. I don't discipline the children. I mean, if I say anything like, okay, you need to chew with your mouth shut, we need to not put our feet on the furniture, we need to sit up straight in our chair, things like that. But other than that, I don't say anything to my stepchildren.
That's a gentle reminder. I really wouldn't consider that discipline. That's just guiding them towards being
exactly
a productive, decent person. I mean, think of those things, and if you didn't correct them and they go over to some friend's house, you could be highly embarrassed.
Now, just as much as it's important for the biological family not to talk bad about the stepdad or stepmom, it's also equally important for the stepwife not to talk negatively about the husbands, about the ex-wife. And
oh yeah,
and there's a lot of circumstances where, and we're going to get to this, how information can get transferred. It can get transferred in ways that are not always the way that it should. If you're hearing negativity coming from somewhere, the best advice to do is to check with the parent.
Oh, definitely.
Don't take a child's word. Go to the parent and say, listen, I'm hearing this and I'm hearing this. What
is
is going
true?
on? Yeah, because we need to, if you have someone bad-mouthing you, you need to correct that.
Sure.
You can't have that going on. So We'll talk about, if the relationship with the ex-wife is negative, avoid, confrontation with that. And for as difficult as it may seem, even if we don't agree with their parenting tips or the way that they parent,
right.
There's different ways that we have to institute that. So going on with you, number 4. Sorry.
Okay, number 4 is the husband and his perspective in this, where he's sitting. Okay, from the husband's perspective, when a man gets divorced and remarried, his role in the relationship often isn't clear. When he has to have interaction with his ex-wife, it can cause problems because his new wife, or she may not be cooperative, and then that can trickle down to the children, causing them not to cooperate. Okay, that tends to set off the new wife because the ex-wife, sometimes is trying to extend her authority into the household. Well, when you're over there, you tell them this. And it's kind of a mess. And then the husband is stuck there in the middle between the ex-wife and the new wife and the children. Everyone's fighting and arguing. No one's happy. And he really doesn't quite know what to do. He has to be the one to initiate the action to clean up that mess with his ex-wife. That's the husband's position. That's what he's responsible for. It's also his responsibility to do that with his children.
Yes.
Like I said before, it's the biological husband's or the biological father, when the children are with him, it's his responsibility to guide them in order to establish and maintain order in that household. That's dad. Okay, dad is not just fun time. Can't just be that way.
Right. Well, the biological parent in the house is responsible for discipline.
Is.
We're going to get to the rules and things like that.
I keep wanting to jump ahead to that because that is something up further. But
what I do want to say too with was it on this one here? There's a lot of times where, the ex-spouse will say, in the house, well, I don't want the new wife near the children. I don't want her talking to the children. I want her out of the house. When the kids go over on the weekend, she can't be there. Well, okay, that's physically impossible. But
right.
I know someone that she's really, really said that to her ex-husband and the new wife, that I don't want her talking to the children. I don't want her anywhere near the children. And
that's not a healthy precedent to set, because even from the tone and the idea behind that, the kids, even if they're not that old, are going to understand, well, or at least it's going to cloud their thinking to, is there something wrong with her? Because you know what? When I go over there, guess what? She's nice to me. And it just it goes into confusing the kids.
And that's why we named the show An American Nightmare, because for as much as I envisioned this house with half of it like all pretty pink with a white picket fence, and the other one with just like total demolition on it, because it's such a fine line between happy and devastating.
Right.
So
I just kind of a little recap. It just that husband, men. It's our job to be leaders. And in these situations, we're the one that are really required to lead, to step up in our own house, to set the rules down when our kids are coming over. Because a lot of times, if you're like me, I'm a kind of a weekend father. My kids are over on the weekends mostly. And at that time, it's my responsibility to step up and lead. I'm the one they should be looking up to. Now, Kristen here is my support.
Yes.
And she is support for the kids, too. And they should be looking at it as such. But as a man, I need to look at it as, this is mine to step up and do. This is my responsibility, and I take it,
Well, as we're going to talk about, I'll just give a little bit of a hint. There's so many men that they just don't know what to do, and they just want to totally, back out of the situation, and they don't want to take action. And then we'll get to that, and everything just kind of spirals. So, number 5, the ex threatening to take the ex-husband to court for or them not being allowed to see the children.
Right.
Often this is a way to gain control. Ex-wives and ex-husbands threaten their exes to take them to court to either increase the child support, threaten to lose their visitation, raise alimony payments, and any other destructive action. So you have someone coming here saying to you, if you don't do this and if you don't do that, I'm just going to go to court and I'm going to get your child support raised, and I'm going to get I'm going to screw you, and you're never going to see the light of day, and blah blah blah. Big problem.
Right.
Because you know what, judges today, here's the thing. First of all, you have to get a lawyer. You have to prove that this person's really doing something, and then you have to get the judge to agree it. So you have so many men that are already so afraid because they already don't see their children enough. They're already financially devastated.
Right.
They're already paying alimony, which is often more than the child support, which you want to make sure is paid. Child support's always important.
Sure do.
And it can leave the father feeling very angry and very resentful, and he's scared. So he doesn't want to say anything to the ex. He doesn't want to say anything to the kids because he feels that if he does anything more, he's going to see his children less. It's just going to
create a new problem.
Yeah, and his bond with his children is, in some sense, is going to be stronger than the bond to the new wife. And he doesn't. It's not that he loves anyone more or less. It's just all he hears is court, money, less children.
Right.
And women use that as a manipulation tool. And statistics have shown that only in about 10% of cases does it actually go to court, follow through, and does the judge actually see that side. People forget that a judge has to ultimately rule.
Right.
And just because the ex wants to have something doesn't mean that she's going to get it. The one thing we recommend highly is, when in doubt, ask a lawyer. Get legal advice. Don't allow yourself and your new family to be plagued by these empty threats. You have a divorce lawyer that you went through for your divorce. Hey, if it costs $50 or $100 for a consultation, and you know what, if you're having this kind of behavior in your house, start writing it down.
Oh, definitely.
Dates that it happened. The kids are saying this. I'm hearing this. This is this. This is this. Start making a list with the dates and the times next to it. So if you do have to go to court, you can say, excuse me, this is what's happening here. And let me tell you what.
It helps you substantiate.
The court, yeah, absolutely. And the courts are much different now. They're more apt to hear both sides of the story. They're not going to let this guy get, raked over the coals anymore.
No.
But when in doubt, don't shrink back in fear. Ask questions. And then you're better armed with that advice so you know how to fight back.
Right.
Okay, next fear.
And now, number 6, one that I was going to skip ahead to, is discipline in the family. This is very important here. Trust me. I came from a step family. I'm a stepfather. I have a stepfather. And trust me, there's been so much learning going on. Even just with the research that's been done on this show, I've learned so much more. But, like I was saying before, with discipline in the family, ultimately, when two families come together, there's children from both sides. Usually the women have their children, And a lot of times the women come with children that are full-time. Husbands, from my peer group that I know of, most of the husbands have their children part-time. So, it's a weekend thing with that. Now, your children may be different sexes. You may have boys and girls, and they may be from different sides. They may be of different ages, maybe different religions, different races. Okay, before beginning cohabitation, it's best to sit down with the children and get a general understanding of who these children are.
Yes.
What are their strong points? What are their weaknesses? What do they enjoy? Get a good understanding how everybody's going to mesh together as a family. Because isn't that our ultimate goal there? We're wanting to create a family unit here. Now, when you make rules for the family, it's important to make sure that the rules are equal to everyone and are age appropriate. Because you're going to have kids of different ages coming in. They're going to be at different places in their development. They're going to require different guidance. And that's when I view rules and discipline, ultimately in my head, I view guidance. It doesn't have to be harsh guidance. Sometimes it can be just a helping hand that turns these kids into something that's going to be very successful in society.
Yes.
Now, ultimately, when you're in this process, and you want to respect the children's differences, and their nationality, they may have different beliefs, they may have different traditions.
Yeah, they may be a whole different culture.
You could have a whole different culture, but by doing so, it makes the children feel accepted.
Yes, it does.
What may have worked in one family may not work for another. But having different disciplinary methods for all the children isn't good either. Okay, this causes a dividing effect, which causes children to feel bad. It's up to you as the husband and the wife to establish rules for the household, not rules for the child.
Exactly, like you say. And when you get into these step family situations, everybody isn't really sure what to do. You guys start dating, everyone's getting along, and then you come to the time you introduce the children. Depending upon this person you're dating may have children with 2 or 3 different people.
Could be.
There's different children to get to know. They have exes and other biological parents, and it can be a huge transition. And just because we think something in our house worked well doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in another's. And I went through that. I'm a very strict parent. I'm very tough. I'm like, it's going to be, I line it out like this. And I had to, pull back on some of mine because, I treat my children the same way as I treat your children and back and forth.
Well, as I had said before, though, I'm a real big proponent, and I found just from experience that in the disciplinary field there, it's easier to have the biological parent discipline the kids. And I know it's not to say that we're not going to have authority as a step parent.
Right.
We're still going to have authority when curfew is at 10 o'clock and someone rolls in at midnight and I see them come in the door. I can ask, hey, where were you?
Absolutely.
We were worried.
Yes, for sure.
I was worried about you because I care about you.
It doesn't mean that we're just going to be sitting there.
It doesn't mean it's like, hey, what's up, dude? Whatever. I was just cleaning my guns, going to go shoot at some stop signs. You don't want to be a poor role model. You do want to say, hey, your mom wanted you home by this time. What happened? You never know. Maybe something happened. But on to you. Okay,
number 7, we have in-laws. Now, if you were married for any length of time and your new husband is married length of any time, you're going to have in-laws. You're going to have his family, and you're also going to have his ex's family.
Yes, you are.
Now, all these people can have a huge influence on the children and have they're going to assume that they have an influence. And, in some ways they kind of do, because they can make a complicated situation more complicated, or they can be very helpful and assistive in the situation and be helpful. It can kind of go either way. So when you have children together, you have a bond. There's bonds in the family. There's sister-in-laws, and there's nieces and nephews, and there's cousins and uncles, and everybody's been together for a long time. And often when a divorce happens, there may be people in the family that aren't very happy about this.
Right.
They may not understand why the divorce took place. They may not agree with the divorce. They may
like the ex.
They may like the ex, and they may really say that often and make that well known.